That's cool. Welcome, everybody. We are here with the most interesting news in the world. And today, it says we're talking about horsing around. Well, that was the old show, Horsing Around. New show, the most interesting news in the world. And what is the most interesting news in the world today? Fire. Why fire? Well, because Hawaii, it's on fire. Oh my FMG. OMFG. Yeah, OMFG. So I don't know why I can't stop looking at the sliding thing at the bottom. Welcome, everybody, to the most interesting news in the world, where we talk about the most interesting news in the world. And today, like I said, it's about fire. Now, I can't help myself. Connor, don't do it. Don't talk. Just be quiet. Talk about it. Don't talk about it. Talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Talk about that. Don't talk about that. Okay. Well, I'm sure a lot of people freaked out. And actually, it is a really terrible thing. And yeah, terrible thing. I mean, lots of houses are getting burnt down. Lots of trees are getting burnt down. Now, maybe, on the most interesting news in the world, we like to do, it's interesting. What if it was just interesting? What if it wasn't terrible? No, Connor, but it's totally terrible. All those people, all their houses. Now, I have an interesting point of view. What I think is really interesting, someone told me that people were like hanging out in the ocean for like 12 hours, which, depending on the kind of ocean you're hanging out in, is either scary or really nice. And then I was also like, they didn't have any boats. And then somebody was like, well, they couldn't get to the boat fast enough. I'm like, really? This is like super hard for me to believe. I mean, unless you were like sleeping, but then again, I realize there are situations that a lot of things are unavoidable. And sometimes a lot of things seem pretty avoidable. So if you didn't actually know, I'm a conscious horse, conscious rider, certified facilitator, and I'm also a skydiver. And in both of those, I say both of those, in both dealing with horses and in skydiving, everybody looks at both of them and goes, oh my God, so scary. Or there's so many situations where you are out of control and you might get hurt or blah, 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 blah. Is that really true? Now, I don't recall if I've talked about it on this show before, but what you always want to do, what you want to do a lot, what you can start doing is thinking and asking truth before every question you ask. If you're asking of someone else, or if you're like watching the news, or if you're just talking to someone, you don't have to say it out loud. You can. Like, I've said it out loud to people, like, truth. And I'm like, truth, are you really blah, 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 blah? And then they're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, that's so obvious that they're lying. So you get to know when someone is lying. So if you're listening to a normal news broadcast, or you're listening to my news broadcast, you can go truth. And it should be very easy. And if it's not easy from the start, it will get easy over time. You'll just be it'll be very easy to notice when someone is lying. You're like, oh, they're lying. But it's not easy to notice when someone is lying if you have a point of view about it. If you're like, it's whatever their point of view is, it's bad or it's good. You having an interesting point of view, which is just, wow, that's interesting, allows you to actually be able to see what's true or not. Now, for me, why am I talking about this? Because like I said, people look at horses, oh my God, that person got kicked. Or in skydiving, oh, you died. Do. So when I started skydiving, I read through the previous 5 years of incident reports. You can't actually do this anymore, which is odd. I don't know what happened there, but you used to be able to see like every single person that died in skydiving. You were able to read a report on it. And I read like the previous 5 years because I was like looking for something where I was like, oh, wow, that's totally unavoidable. And I was looking for the thing that I needed to really, really be aware of. And everything I read through, I was like, oh, that could have been easily avoided. That could have been easily avoided. That could have been easily avoided. Like super just by being aware, it all could have been easily avoided. So as long as you're being aware, a lot of things can be avoided. Now, the same is true for conscious horse, conscious rider. And my favorite part about conscious horse, conscious rider is the horses will do everything they can to get you aware. Yeah. Yeah. And the planet does the same thing. Like, it's willing to just let us be unaware to an extent when our own unawareness creates massive forest fires. Now, I'm not going to sit here and give you a reason and justification for why there are forest fires in Hawaii. That's not necessarily a contribution, so I don't really tend to care to talk about it. What I would like to talk about is what I think is extremely funny, interesting. The most interesting news in the world is you've got a lot of fires going on in California. And a lot of them had, and I mean this over the last like decade, 2 decades even. And a lot of this, the scientists even attribute to the fact that if you're an American, you know this thing of like Smokey the Bear. So the scientists attribute this to the fact that over the course of 80 years in California, everybody was like stopping forest fires. Like, no forest fires are terrible. Stop them. Don't let them happen. Well, they didn't really look at the fact that a forest fire was a natural occurrence. Like nature required it, and it was a part of its cycles, kind of like how you sleep at night. Very different because you sleep every once a day maybe, whereas this might occur once every 20 years or 50 years or whatever. And what they said is that because everybody was stopping these forest fires, now this like underbrush and like dead leaves, dead pine cones, like all this underbrush, this stuff is like building up on the bottom. And then when a forest fire actually gets going, it's too freaking hot. It's got too much fuel. It's too big for one, it to be stopped, and two, for a lot of the trees that would have survived, for them to survive. What they really discovered is that for thousands of years, nature's been actually doing a pretty good job of taking care of itself, and there will be forest fires, but it won't kill absolutely everything. Like the big trees will stick around and all the small stuff is dead. Oh, everything's dead. So let's ask this question. Truth. See how this works? Are the forest fires a contribution? Are the forest fires necessary for the land? I got some of it, it's a contribution, and I got, yes, it's necessary for the land. So, bye-bye houses. Sorry. Maybe nature's just claiming back what's rightfully its own. It's his. How would you say that? I'm just being goofy, everybody. I like being goofy. It's fun for me. I'm too childish. Way too childish. So let's do this. I really tell myself to not run processes on this show because it's a free show. But anytime I tell myself not to do something, it's pretty much a guarantee that I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I'm like, don't do that, Connor. Oh, no, I really want to do it. Now I really want to do it. So now I forgot what I was going to run. So everything you've decided that is a contribution and everything that you've decided is not a contribution, would you now destroy and create it all? Oh my goodness, that's pretty good. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine, shorts, boys, pobads, and beyonds. And everything you've decided, maybe I already said it, everything you've decided as not a contribution that actually is, will you destroy and create all that? Ouch. Oh, right and wrong, good and bad, Pock and pot all night, shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. And everything that you've decided is a contribution that actually isn't, will you destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot all night, shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. Forest fires. Forest fires, truth, are they a contribution or are they not? And then you're like, well, we didn't really define a contribution to what? Are they required by the land? Yeah. Now, how do you know if it's true? Your body will feel lighter. Your body will feel like your whole universe will expand. If it feels not true, you're like, rah, 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 rah. So I'm sure you're like, wow, that's different. And maybe some of you go, no, there should never be a forest fire ever. And then some of you are probably going, we need to start forest fires. That's not really a question. Like, what our target here is to actually be in question of a lot of things, not just come to conclusion of what we think we need to do and what we've decided we need to do because we decided we need to do something. So let's do this instead of deciding we need to do something and thinking we need to do something, or deciding we can't do anything, or deciding we shouldn't do anything because we've just decided a whole bunch of stuff. Let's just stop deciding and ask a question. Like, Hawaii, can I contribute to you? It's like, yeah. Hawaii, what's up with the forest fires? Is there anything I can do or be? So we have 4 questions. What is it? It's forest fire. What do I do with it? What is it? What do I do? Yeah, what do I do with it? Can I change it? Oh, I get yes. If so, how do I change it? Now notice I'm not asking stop forest fire. How do I stop forest fire? It's like, no, can I change it? I mean, changing it also means increasing it too. That's a possibility. It's a possibility. Changing it may mean slowing, like just changing it. We'll see what that shows up like. Maybe the fire just turns blue. I'm not sure. This sounds exciting. Maybe changing it means it like leaps over to California and then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So let's change it. Anybody interested in joining me in changing it? Okay, cool. So everything that doesn't allow us to contribute to changing the forest fires in Hawaii, destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all night, shorts, boys, povats, and beyond. Yeah, and there's a lot more other tools that I would go over with regards to something like this. But you're going to have to come to a Access Consciousness Foundation class if you really want to get down and dirty in the advanced stuff. Why? Because I got a baby and somebody's got to pay for it. And sure as shit ain't going to be me. No, because if you come to my class, then I do get to pay for my baby. You know, it is funny because I do believe that quite possibly one of the best manipulations on the planet of getting paid is saying, I got to put food on the table for my kids. And I do. Which these days, 2023, for the majority of the planet, oh God, people are going to kill me for this one. Majority, that's loosely stated because it depends on if you're talking about numbers and population or if you're talking about geographically. So I'm personally talking about geographically, maybe not. For a lot of the planet, majorities, you're getting into some fine numbers that nobody could ever actually figure out truly. For a lot of people on the planet, putting food on the table actually isn't that hard. Oops. Welcome to, maybe that's our next show. The most interesting news in the world. Starvation. Ooh, I like it. We're going to cover that next time because that's a huge topic. And I know I just pressed a big button on a lot of people's foreheads or in their bellies or right where their stomach is. Because like, Connor, I can't put food on the table. It's so hard. Okay. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all night, shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. Fires. See, I'm the worst. This is the worst show for me to do because I just really like talking about all the things that nobody likes to talk about, especially when I'm in control. So, if you've ever been in a place where there are forest fires, like I was living in Australia on the Sunshine Coast, And I don't even recall if I was actually actively no, we had some forest fires while I was there, and you could see the glow in the distance, and you had, lots of smoke, and like you could see the glow in the distance at night. And the one thing I did notice, a lot of people were really scared. And I even like drove by it. I was like, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Like, I mean, like I could get away from it. But I guess a lot of people are afraid of losing their houses. That's like the number one thing. But I came from Kansas where there's tornadoes, and those are like absolutely almost totally chaos. And the reason I only say almost is because you don't normally see them in January. It's more of like a May, June, April kind of a thing. And it's like the reverse winning of the lottery. It's like your probability and possibility of actually getting hit by a tornado is like extremely low. Like if you were afraid of getting hit by a tornado, you should probably go buy a lottery ticket, because that's kind of like the realm of statistical probability you're working in, which is the same, which is almost not the same. Well, a side note joke, based on statistically speaking, not that anybody even knows what statistics really truly are, but statistically speaking, you are in more danger getting in your car in the morning and driving to work than you are if you go do a skydive. So, but people don't want to know that kind of stuff. People don't actually desire to know the truth. So if you're someone that's willing to do this truth game and ask or think truth when other people are talking, or ask or think truth when you are asking someone a question, then you are a very small percentage on this planet, my friend, because the vast majority of the people on this planet desire to be like an ostrich and stick their head in the sand, which maybe that's what got us in this position with the forest fires in Hawaii. Well, that's it. That's all for that is it. That's all today, my friends, for the most interesting news in the world. Thank you. Ta-ta. Till next Wednesday, when we're going to be talking about, God, I should write this down so I remember. We're going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? Starvation. There we go. Boom.